Folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAM podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, here with our ongoing series of IGDN spotlights. Today we're talking to John Luke from the Dungeon's Key. How you doing, sir?
Not bad. Thanks so much, Mike, for having me.
Oh, that's great. You have to indulge me for just 1 second. I have a contractually mandated musical intro that I have to play, so just 1 second. And that little bit of musical intro assures you, gentle viewer, that this is a high-quality, high-production value podcast. Only the finest, ethically sourced, geeky conversation for your podcast listening pleasure. So, John Luke, we were talking about your new project, and let me mention the URL real fast before I forget. tinyurl.com/dwellersbog. This is for your new Mörk Borg adventure on Kickstarter right now.
That's right.
Dwellers of the Bog. Let me start sharing some of this amazing art that you got for it. And can you tell us a little bit about this book?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dwellers of the Bog is a campaign module and adventure sandbox from Mörk Borg. It's standalone in the sense that you can use this campaign module alongside the Mörk Borg rules, and you don't need anything else. And it's the idea there is that it's just kind of laying out the bare bones for a GM. You've got plot hooks and things like that, NPCs, starting town, 11 different dungeons to explore in this sort of this bog. But it actually also doubles as an expansion for one of the previous books that I'd written, which is another campaign module called Kavlov's Sanctuary. And in Kavlov's Sanctuary, there's sort of like the wilderness that you can explore, and the bog is one of the locations that you can explore there. So we're actually I've taken just one of those wilderness areas from Kavlov's Sanctuary and blown it up into a completely separate book. So you can use it either on its own, right? So Dwellers of the Bog, you can just use it without Kavlov's Sanctuary, but you can also use it alongside Kavlov's Sanctuary as well to have like an even larger and more immersive setting with I think it's a total of 12 new classes for Mörk Borg and 24 dungeons. So it's kind of turning into this sort of like mega dungeon.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Just scrolling through some of your art here. This is some nice looking stuff.
Thank you.
Can you tell me what led you to choose Mörk Borg?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been kind of writing content at home for my group for years, and we were playing a lot of 4E and then 5E, and eventually after I want to say 3 years of a kind of solid play, we decided to take a break, and I decided to try to explore new systems, and that's when I came across the Glass Cannon Network, a fantastic actual play podcast and kind of network, and they did kind of a small stint of Mörk Borg, like an actual play. It was like 3 episodes, and I loved everything that I heard. I fell in love with the system, and I also fell in love with the theme, just how easy it is. But more importantly, I think for me, Mörk Borg being so incredibly rules light is what made it incredibly easy to write for. There are some games I wouldn't feel comfortable just picking up. I'll just throw out, say, like Pathfinder 2nd edition or something like that. That's incredibly crunchy. You couldn't just pick it up without ever having, say, run a game and start writing for it. But the Mörk Borg is so rules light that you can absolutely do that and feel very comfortable writing content for the game, even if you're, you haven't played it a whole bunch. So yeah, that's primarily one of the reasons why. It's the setting, but also just how easy they make it for you.
Yeah, it's one of the cool things about some of the old school Renaissance games is that, with more of an emphasis on GM rulings and less on rules being codified in the book, it kind of frees things up for creativity.
I couldn't agree more.
So that's pretty cool. Just scrolling through some of your art, and I wanted to mention this amazing old school map you got here. This is really a thing.
Thank you. Yeah, so I had so in Kavlov's Sanctuary, I had a very similar map that was just a 1 A5 slide, and this time around I want to make it even larger. Obviously, I've taken some inspiration from some of the old school OSR TSR style blue white maps, and both catalogs and dwellers, I can say, are heavily inspired by some of the early modules, the classic B2 Keep on the Borderlands and sort of style, where everything is just kind of like self-contained, almost like a getting started. But I think I've done a little more with it than they have, to some degree. Obviously, probably not as classic, but I think I've done a good job with it so far.
Yeah, it looks great. This takes me right back to the early 80s when I was messing around with I want to say it was the basic box with my dad, but it might have been advanced D&D. So yeah, beautiful stuff. And tell me about this guy here.
Well, without revealing too many spoilers, what I will say is that this is the Carrion Prince. So Dwellers of the Bog is really a book about the bog, but the lore behind it is that there are these sort of two brothers, Fenvin and Balbazur. And so where Fenvin kind of grew up, nurturing and caring for, all living things, eventually Balbazur was kind of like lured into kind of the depths of dark magic and corruption by sorcery and other kind of goings on in the bog and so forth. So the Carrion Prince, think of it as I want to say like Balbazur's number one, if you will. And so he is doing all sorts of things in the bog. And as you can see, he's kind of covered in this sort of ichor, and he's wearing this kind of shard crown. There's a lot of really neat things about some of the kind of choices I've made around some of these monsters. And so for instance, like he has like a kind of a set, if of like set items. So he's got like 2 or 3 items that when all worn together grant him, really, really powerful abilities. So yeah, the art is done by a gentleman named Franklin Lima over at Silix Art Studios. He's someone I've been working with since June of last year to kind of get some of these illustrations done. He did the cover, he did all of the interior art, except for the maps. This is something that I've been working on. And he's just been phenomenal to work with. Like the project wouldn't be what it is today without him, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of, here's some of the, like I said, there's a lot of cool art in here. Like, I don't know how to describe this for the people who are just going to be listening over iTunes, but let's say a reclining whimsical demon on a huge toadstool. Is that close?
That's you nailed it. Actually, this is a dream eater. And so you can imagine that perhaps these spores might lull unsuspecting adventurers to sleep, where they would proceed to devour your dreams. So. Sort
of reminiscent of a horribly evil version of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I forget there's a movie by Guillermo del Toro, I think, with that monster with the eyes and the hands as well. Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah. And so I don't want to say that I've taken inspiration from Pan's Labyrinth specifically, but Alice in Wonderland, Pan's Labyrinth. These are the kinds of things that I was thinking of when I'm kind of writing these monsters, for sure.
Oh, good. I understand. So that's kind of the tone we've got. Oh, look at this guy. Tell me about Grizzly Adams here. What's going on with this guy?
Yeah, this is a character who looks like he's straight out of Jumanji, I think a little. And this is actually the only illustration of Fenvin in the book. So this is the do-gooder, the brother that is now trapped inside of his druidic grove. So he went into the bog to save his brother and wasn't able to. And in fact, the bog now is not only expanding outwards into the world and sort of terraforming the world as we know it, but he's kind of thrown up this grove like right in the center of the bog, and he's struggling to prevent the bog from encroaching and kind of taking over. So he's trapped there, living out his days, hoping that perhaps his brother might find some mercy on him. But so far, to no avail. Who knows?
That's pretty cool. Here's the cover, going for that old school look. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So this looks great. Let's take a look at your Kickstarter page. Oh, wow. There's a big graphic. Funded in under 3 hours. And wanted to mention that because you guys have blown through your funding goal, and now you are knocking out stretch goals, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we just knocked off the 5th stretch goal today. I mean, I don't know what to say, frankly. Like, the community has just been, incredibly supportive of my work on Kickstarter. This is my 3rd Kickstarter. I've had a lot of really good success on Drive-Thru RPG as well, and so I want to maybe try to attribute some of the success that I'm seeing here with having a relatively large mailing list. I'm because this is not only a standalone book, it's also doubling as an expansion for a book I'd previously written. I think that helps sort of generate some of the buzz. So we've knocked off a few stretch goals. You can see them here. Obviously, one of the first things I wanted to do was make sure that I could give Franklin a kind of a tip, a bonus. I wanted to make sure that don't get me wrong. I mean, Franklin has been paid fairly up until now, and but like I said, I do believe that he went above and beyond what was asked of him, and he was incredibly fair, and I wanted to do more for him, and so I'm glad that we were able to do that. And then from there, obviously having like a bog themed poster, whether that's the blue-white map, for folks to use at the table. I mean, having kind of those accessories at the table always feels really, really great. We knocked out the Dweller's soundtrack. I did a 4-minute loopable ambient soundtrack, sort of inspired by the bog, so you can hear frogs croaking in the background, crows, wind, as well as some kind of eerie kind of like string instruments and hand drums, among other things, which was great. I worked with a composer who also made a 2-hour loopable version, right? So folks will be able to kind of just play this on a loop and not have to worry about setting something on replay and stuff like that. Then we knocked off a Dweller's character sheet, and I wish I'm working with Franklin right now on the design, and it's looking amazing. I wish I had something that I could share with you and for the rest of the folks who are going to be watching this, because it's looking awesome. And then finally, the last stretch goal we just unlocked, 2 additional soundtracks, which I'm super excited for. Maybe something a bit more grungy, maybe more melodic, maybe some heavy metal in there to kind of loop in the Mörk Borg theme. And then obviously we've got a couple other things on the roadmap as well. So if we can even reach that $10,000 goal, I'd love to do VTT integration either for Roll20 or Foundry as well. So one of the two.
Yeah. And VTT is huge these days, so I can understand wanting to do that. But you guys look like you have a good chance of making it. We're at 6,200 out of your 1,400 goal, and 6 days left to go. And usually you get a nice big spike towards the end. So let's say
that's right. Yeah, the last sort of 48 hours, you can usually get it. And of course, the stretch goals are all in Canadian dollars, right? So we're actually quite a bit closer than that, right? So we're at a little over 8,000 now. So.
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. I forgot about the exchange rate. So
that's right. So it always looks like a lot less than Canadian dollars not faring so well these days. That's all right.
Yeah. Apologies. I saw dollars. I should have looked at the CAD and realized what we were talking about.
Yeah, I know and that's why I intentionally, put on the Kickstarter, a little small Canadian flag and just reminding folks that the prices are in Canadian dollars, right? So for our international customers or for anyone else, just make sure that they get that. It's not say 70 USD for the full collection. It's considerably less.
Cool. Well, this looks really impressive. I wish you guys the best luck. I love the idea of the soundtrack. I played around with those myself. It's from a creator's point of view, it's a lot of fun for me because it's another aspect of the play world bringing to life for the players. Yeah, and also it's kind of cool to have one more thing you can throw on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'm actually currently sort of investing in as well is so we're having this sort of the one of the stretch goals I mentioned was the character sheet, right? So a digital character sheet, unlocked for everyone. I'd love to do some notepads, right? Get some notepads printed and throw that on as an add-on. Not even really to make a buck, but just because I think it's people want to purchase these things. It's just another thing to have at the table, to kind of bring the immersion a little bit. I think that's a lot of fun, right? So, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's very tempting, right? I mean, dice bags, there's all kinds of branded stuff you can go with.
Yeah, we actually, funny enough, I was kind of talking about that, with the members with other members of the IGDN, in our kind of the Discord channel. And if there's one thing that I'm really excited for as being a member of the IGDN is being able to reach out to members and ask these kinds of questions, because talking about like, well, should I do dice? Shouldn't I? What kind of add-ons should I be looking at? I want to explore growing the brand, growing the business, but being able to kind of bounce ideas off of folks who have already done it helps me a lot in terms of like maybe reducing the risk a little bit for myself getting involved in some of these things, because I've got a lot of folks I can speak to that are that have tons of experience working on this stuff as well. So I'm incredibly thankful for all the members of the IGDN who helped me with all my questions, because I'd like to at least attribute some of the success of this Kickstarter to them as well, right? Because I've leaned on the community a lot over the last several months just to kind of work on this sort of stuff as well. So I should
really spend some more time on the Discord. There is a lot of wisdom there. And for people who are listening who are publishing, the Indie Game Developer Network is a great group you can join. And there's, like I said, a wealth of knowledge, people you can talk to in the Discord. And there's a lot of perks beyond that, such as con representation, and just a lot of cool stuff there. It's really worth checking out. The conventional wisdom I always heard about swag like dice and T-shirts and other stuff was to be really, really careful, especially with shipping prices being as unpredictable as they can be. I know Fred Hicks of Evil Hat used to say swag kills back in the day. I don't know if the conventional wisdom has changed on that, but I've always been really leery of going down that route just for that reason.
It's one of those things where I think you see these sort of like $1 million crowdfunding campaigns, and they all have like tons and tons of these sort of add-ons and things like that, and it's alluring. Not as a publisher, you're looking at the numbers, but also as a player, as a GM, these are kind of cool. You can personalize your campaign, immortalize it, in dice and shirts and all these other things. But to your point, it can be quite fickle as well, in that you could lose money on some of these things as well. So you got to be kind of careful, and that's why things like notepads and things like that, soundtracks, at least I think are although maybe a little bit safer. I think that it's a lot of fun, and it allows me to kind of deliver a little bit of something to the backers, while also not taking any massive risks as well for the campaign.
Yeah, digital delivery makes you don't have to go to the post office and write a check. It makes everything a lot easier. So
yeah, absolutely.
Big fan of that. So, well, we're just about out of time. Do we have any closing thoughts before we wrap things up?
No, honestly, again, Mike, I want to thank you again for having me. I think this was great. And I really appreciate everything that the IGDN has done, for me and for everyone. And obviously we met through the IGDN, and I really appreciate all that you do for us as well by having us on. I listened, for instance, to your recent interview with James Kerr, who I'll actually be meeting up with in Toronto for Breakout 24. So if anybody's around Breakout 2024, James and I will both be there. I'll be playing some Mörk Borg. Yeah, I'll be playing some Mörk Borg, and I'll be running some Cyborg games as well. So I've got, I think, 5 or 6 games scheduled. So if anybody's around, stop on by, come say hi. I'm really looking forward to meeting folks. Other than that, Mike, that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
Can I ask you a quick Mörk Borg question?
Absolutely.
So I played Mörk Borg just a couple times. Seemed like a lot of fun. But Cyborg, is that just kind of like the cyberpunk take on Mörk Borg, or is that something else?
No, that's exactly right. So Cyborg is it's by Free League and the Stockholm Cartel. It's Cy_Borg. So it's based off of, if you want, it's another one of the Borg spin-offs. Except in this case, it's an official one. It's punk, dystopian kind of anti-corpo setting, and they've added, obviously, they've got firearms, they've added, additional stats, you've got hacking and all sorts of things. So it's another kind of rules light stab at, cyberpunk, if you will. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I just finished playing, the back of the book, one shot with a group, and we had an absolute blast. So I'm looking forward to running more of it, because I want to kind of build my confidence up to be able to kind of write content for that in the future.
Sweet. Yeah. All right. I'll check that out at some point. But once again, good talking to you, John, or Jean-Luc. Everyone out there, appreciate you watching us. Once again, tinyurl.com/dwellersbog. You can check out the Kickstarter. Today is February 15th. It's a good day to jump on the bandwagon because they are smashing through stretch goals like the Kool-Aid Man coming through a wall of a thirsty person in TV in the 80s. So
to go with the map, I suppose.
Yeah. So it looks great. Just going to check it out. Thanks for checking us out here on the Band Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Mike.